Hello everyone, Transport Enthusiast here, and in this video we are back again in Workers and Resources, Soviet Republic. In this tutorial video, I will be going through everything you need to know in order to be able to signal your railway line correctly. So basically, I'm going to be going over the semaphores or train signals in Workers and Resources, Soviet Republic. The first thing to understand about train signals in Workers and Resources Soviet Republic is that when you construct a railway line, so when you go into infrastructure, railways, and then whichever railway line you're building, what you're going to have is you will have these purple boxes here. So what these purple boxes indicate is that whenever this track here between two purple boxes is occupied, the train signal will be red. So basically these are the intervals at which you want to have train signals so that your train line works correctly. And then anytime you have a train along between an interval of purple boxes, your train signal will turn red. So in this tutorial, I am basically going to go over all the different main types of train junctions that you will use in Workers and Resources Soviet Republic. So the first kind of signal that we are going to look at is going to be a normal signal. So actually, before we get started, the important thing to understand is the difference between a chain semaphore and just a normal semaphore. So basically the difference is, I'm just going to go back here into our tram line that we built in the last tutorial. So basically the difference between a chain semaphore and a single semaphore is that a chain semaphore is used whenever you are entering a junction or a crossing. So like so. So here we're on the right hand side of the road and the train is entering the junction and it's going out like so. Whenever we are exiting a junction or we are continuing along a straight track like so, we don't need a double semaphore but just a single semaphore. So basically the easiest way to remember this is that double chain semaphores are used when you are entering a junction, and then for any other scenario you're using a single chain semaphore. So with that out of the way, so I'm going to speed this to normal speed. With that out of the way, we can get going with our first kind of junction. So the way you build a junction in this game is you get your railway, whichever railway you're building, and then you build your first straight railway. After that, we can create a branch off railway, like so. And we can create another branch off railway, like so. So at the moment, this is too sharp, so we'll have to continue this, like so. So this is a bit of trial now, getting the things to line properly. Okay, so here what we have here is we have a branch off. We have a branching of the line. So we have this one track from the depot branches off into 3 different lines. And the way you need to signal this is quite simple actually. So it basically falls down to the rule of double chain semaphores and single semaphores. So this is the entrance to what we call here a branch. So whenever you have an entrance to an area where train or tram tracks diverge, you need to place a chain semaphore. So what we do here is we place a chain semaphore. Now we cannot place semaphores here, you have to place it probably around here. Now, you can decide how you're doing this. You can create a double-ended track. So what this means is that trains can go both forwards and backwards, or you can create a one-way track. I prefer to use one-way tracks just because they are more realistic, but I know in some areas the trains are on so I know that some trains have some lines have a single track, and what happens is that since the frequency is low, the trains go both ways. And you can also create that. So the way you change the direction of your track is you simply click on the semaphore. So this means that currently this track is going this way. If you do this, it means it's going forwards, and if you click this, it means it's going. So this is backwards. This is both directions, and this is forwards. The next thing we do is we need to put semaphores in each tree on all 3 of our railways. And the way we do that is this now is the exit of our crossing point or crossover point, whatever you want to call this. So in this case, all we need to do is use a simple semaphore or a normal semaphore. And we have to place a semaphore on each track. Okay, this is being a bit... Okay, like so. We place one here, and we place one here. And now what's going to happen is that this junction should be working for you now. Trains will come onto this semaphore here, and then they will diverge onto whatever route you have set them to travel on. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to delete this junction, as we won't be needing this anymore. Okay, and then I'm also going to get rid of this semaphore, like so. The next kind of track we are going to do, or next kind of divergence we are going to create, is a partial double track. So what this looks like is we have one track on this side, and then we have a second track that comes back onto the main track. So what you have here, this can usually be used for like a train station or for a layover point, or for example if you have a two-way train line and you want trains to wait here until the train coming from the opposite direction has gone off the track. So the way that you signal these tracks is you basically have to use the simple semaphores. So what we do is we put our simple semaphore on the entrance and the exit of these tracks, like so. Yeah, and you want to be careful with your semaphores that you're not placing them on the purple box. And then you basically set the simple semaphores to the direction which your train is traveling on. So for example, this is going to be our direction for going outbound, and then this will be our signals for going inbound, like so. And then you click on this, like so. So now what we have is we have a partial double track. And then what's going to happen here is when our trains load in, our trains will go into this when this is green, and then they will come back out onto it when this is green as well. And then you're also, in order for this to work properly, you will have to have your double-ended semaphores on both ends. And in this case, you're actually going to need a chain semaphore, as this is an entrance as well. And then you will need to add your chain semaphore here as well. Okay, and that's basically how you create a double track. Now, it is important that you actually signal these tracks, because if you do not signal these tracks, what will happen is you will notice that your trams or trains will travel on the wrong side of the road. For example, you might have your trams traveling on this side of the road when you want them to be traveling, so not the road, the tracks. You might have them traveling on this side of the tracks when you want them to be traveling on this side of the tracks. So you have to signal these, and the way you signal them is you place simple semaphores, and you place the semaphore facing the direction that the track is going. And you have to make sure that the direction is consistent, because if you have a backwards direction, it's just going to obstruct your train line, and it's not going to work properly. Okay, now the next thing we are going to look at is a T-junction. So a T-junction basically looks something like this. So I have a T-junction. I'm going to have our double track here. Actually, I probably could have shown you the double track like so. So the way we create a T-junction is we create our main tracks like so, and then we create our turning points here. So we click on the tracks we want the turning points to occur at, and then we're going to extend this a bit further so we have enough room to create a junction. Then what we do is we extend this out a bit like so, and then we add our second part of the junction. So in this case we are going from this way, yep, like so, and then we do the same thing here. So now what we have done is we have created a T-junction. Now, before we start with our T-junction, we need to make sure that we have our double tracks signaled properly. So we need to place our simple semaphores there. So this semaphore is actually a bit too close to that doesn't really matter. So there's our simple semaphore. There's our simple semaphore, and then we need them at the exits as well. And this is to make sure that your trams don't get, or your trains, whichever you're using, don't get stuck along your line. So whenever you have a double track, it is important that you signal them. And the best, as I said earlier in this video, the best way to know where to place a semaphore is just look for these purple boxes and place them in between the intervals. Okay, so now creating a junction, signaling a junction basically falls into the principle that I mentioned earlier, and that is that chain semaphores go at the entrance of a junction and simple semaphores or normal semaphores go at the exit of a junction. So in this case, our entrance to the junction is here, so we place our semaphore, our chain semaphore here. Next entrance to the junction is here, so we place our chain semaphore like so, and we make sure it's going in the right direction. And then finally, the last entrance to our junction is here, so then we make sure that our semaphore is facing the right direction as well. So now what we have done is we have signaled the entrance to our junctions. The next thing we do is we use our normal semaphores to signal the exits of our junctions. So this is the first exit here, our second exit is here, and our third exit is here. And now what we have is we have a fully functioning T-junction. The next kind of junction that we will look at is an X-junction. So what I am going to do is I'm going to remove these semaphores. So if you need to cancel a semaphore, you just click this cancel semaphore option here, and then you just click on the semaphore and the semaphores will be removed. Like so. Now what we are going to do is we are going to create our X-junction. So an X-junction is basically it's a crossing. Now this might be a bit problematic to create. There we go. So there's our okay. We have our X-junction here, and then we have to do the same thing on this side. Okay, yeah, so it's a bit of trial and error with this, getting the angles right. So what we actually want is we want these to actually kind of meet together. So we want this yeah. I've kind of made, okay, I've made a bit of a shambles of this here. So we want these two lines to actually meet together. So I think the easiest way to do this is we're going to remove this off. The road's not too important here anyway. So I think the easiest way to do this is we are going to build our straight section first. So what we do here is we create our straight line there. We create our second straight line here, or a straight railway line. Like so. And then just so this. Now obviously my junction doesn't look perfect here, but if you can trial and error until you get the perfect angles. Okay, I didn't want a turning circle there. Yep, so like that, and then we should have enough railway section to negotiate with. So there we go. We build like so. Okay, so now what we are going to do is we are going to connect this side of the junction with our railway lines. There we go, like so. Going to connect this with this side, this with this side, and this with this side. So now what we have is we have a very funky looking X-junction. So the way we signal an X-junction is, again, it follows the principle of where trains are entering the junction and where trains are exiting the junction. So we use the chain semaphore for the entrances. So we have an entrance here. We can't place the semaphore exactly there because it's on a purple box. We're going to place our semaphore there. Our next entrance to the X-junction is here. Then we have another entrance to the X-junction over here. And then finally, we also have our entrance to the X-junction over here. Nope, that's going the wrong direction. So what we have done now is we've placed our chain semaphores on the entrance to the junction. The next thing we do is we add our normal semaphores or simple semaphores at the exit of all the junctions. So there is our first exit to the junction. There is our second exit to the junction. And then there is our third exit to the junction. And the way that trains cross over this junction will be dependent on how you have set up your lines. So this at the moment here, what we have is a normal X-junction. So this is if you want to keep it simple. If you want to make it more advanced, the way you do this is you add your chain semaphores at each point where there are tracks crossing over. So we are going to have a double, can't place it right there. So we are going to have a chain semaphores there. we will have another chain semaphore here at the crossover, and we'll have another chain semaphore here. Now the reason adding signals here might be beneficial is, for example, if we have a train coming along this side of the track, instead of the train, depending on its length, blocking this whole junction, it can actually drive onto here and then wait at this signal. So the advantages of using an advanced X-junction is that it basically means that if your X-junction is big enough, trains can not congest the line, depending on how you set it up. Okay, and then you can add your chain semaphores here. Now the reason we're using chain semaphores here instead of simple semaphores is because this is technically going through a junction. So if we're going through anywhere where rail lines are crossing over, we have to use double chain semaphores. Simple chain semaphores are basically used, or normal semaphores are used whenever you are just going along a straight track and there is no communication or intersection with another railway line. And then what we do is we basically add a chain semaphores at each point where we have a intersection of a train line, like so. And then what we have done here is we have created an advanced X-junction. Now, in the game, you do have it laid out, in the guide you have it laid out slightly differently, but in essence, this is how your junction looks. And then, so I actually forgot to add this here. Now, the next part is you also need to add your chain semaphores along this part of the junction, like so. So, as you can see here, what we are doing, we are just adding semaphores along the train line. This is actually this way. So there we go, and then we add our chain semaphores here and here, and then we add this one here. Oh, sorry, I've put the wrong direction here. That should be going this way, that should be going this way, and then perfecto. So what we have here is now we have an advanced we have an advanced X-junction, and it's all signaled up. So basically, the key to remember when setting these up is use your chain semaphores at the entrance, or where there is intersection of railway lines, and use your simple semaphores once you have exited the junction and it's just a straight railway line without any communication with other tracks. So there you have it. That is your advanced X-junction. Now the next junction we will look at is what we call a double track end station. So I'm just going to use this as a thumbnail here. Okay. So the next kind of junction I will show you here. This is very beneficial when you're building tram lines or train lines. So most train lines don't actually use turning circles. They use what's called a switchover point or a crossover point. And I'm going to show you now, once I get rid of all this here, how you can create a switchover point. Create a switchover track here, and we are going to have our next switchover track here. So now what we are going to do is we are going to place a chain semaphore still here, because this is the entrance to the switchover point. So this is all trains that are inbound are going to go on this side of the track, and they will be going forwards. Then what we are going to do is we are going to add our simple semaphores. So our simple semaphores will go here, here, and here. No, sorry, that's meant to be a double chain semaphore. Now, if you place a simple semaphore and a double semaphore, is just gonna change it to a simple semaphore. So there we go. Now, the important thing here is that we actually have to keep our semaphores like this. So what's happened here is this is a one-way track. So what's happened here? This is a one-way track, and this is a one-way track, but this here is a two-way track, because trains can go either here or here, and then they can go here or here. So what happens is basically this is our entrance to the junction, and then this is our exit to the junction, and then we're not using double chain semaphores here because this is technically also an exit to the junction, and this is the only actual entrance. So what happens here is you have to have this bidirectional and bidirectional, so this way the trains can go either way. And then what you have here is, once you've set it up this way, you have your chain semaphore facing one direction on the inbound track, you have your simple semaphore facing one direction on the outbound track, and then you have two semaphores that are bidirectional on the tracks that are beside the train platform, like so. And then you have a crossover point, and then you can use this as a terminus for trains or tram lines that don't have a turning circle. If you want to look at the full guide, I will have a link to it in the description. There are also some more complex or some more detailed examples of different kind of junctions that you can take a look through in the guide. But I'm not going to go over any of the other ones because these are the three. I think I went over three main junctions types that you're going to use. You have your T junction, you have your Y junction. No, you have your T junction, you have your X junction, and you have your crossover point. So those are the three main kind of signaling patterns that you're going to use in your game. And then you also have your divergence that I showed you at the very start of the video, and that's if you're having the depot go along one track and then trains diverge outwards. So guys, that is basically how you signal trains and workers and resources Soviet Republic. I hope you found this tutorial helpful. If you did, don't forget to give it a like, and if you have any other tutorials or requests, you can always leave them down in the comment section below and I will see what I can do for you. And if you want, you can always subscribe. I do upload videos on workers and resources Soviet Republic, OMSI2 and other transport simulator content. Thanks for watching, and until next time.